Hello, children. Before you teach Annabelle Richard, I'm going to teach you science, P6 class. First of all, I have to welcome all of you for this session here. And two, we have to make sure that we are safe. You know, we are in the COVID time. It's a dangerous disease, it kills, so you need to be careful about it. Don't forget to sanitize yourself. Don't forget to keep distance. Fine. So before we look at this topic I'm going to teach you through, in P4 we looked at our body. Just remember what we looked at in P4, what makes our body. Our body is made up of tiny living tissues, tiny living cells, which builds our body. We said that a cell is the smallest unit of a living thing. And these cells that work together to perform particular functions, they form what we call a tissue. Then tissues that work together to perform a similar function form what we call an organ. We have several organs of the body. We have the eyes, we have the heart, we have the nose, we have the skin, and many others. Some of them are found inside the body, others are found outside the body. Then these organs that perform the same function, they form what we call a system. So a system is a group of body organs that work together to perform a particular function in the body. So today we are going to look at a very important system of the body, the circulatory system. But if you look at that system, can you remind me any other body system of the body you remember? Let me check whether I can still recall those systems that your teachers taught you in P4. Yeah, I can see. We looked at the digestive system. I know we learned about that. We looked at the respiratory system. We talked about that one briefly in P4, although we never went into details of the system. We talked about the, reproductive system. We also talked about the excretory system. I know we shall look at that in P7 and so on. Okay, finally, tell me. The nervous system. Yeah, that's good. Fine. So our system today is going to be the circulatory system. Can you say the word? The circulatory system, from the word circulation. Fine. So at the end of the day, we shall have known the term circulatory system. At the end of the day, we shall have known the meaning of the blood circulation. At the end of the day, we shall have known the components of the circulatory system. And finally, we shall be knowing the parts of the human heart. Do you know your heart is a very important organ of the body? We are going to look at that heart and we shall see all the parts that make up that heart. Fine. So look at the first part of it. The human body is made up of many systems that perform different functions. You have already mentioned those systems for me. You are very good children. So what do you understand by the term circulatory system? So we are saying this is a group of organs that deal with the movement of blood in the body. How the blood moves around our body is going to be under the circulatory system. The blood circulation means the movement of blood around the body. In our body contains that liquid called blood. That liquid must move around all parts of the body from the tiniest part to the biggest part of the body. And the movement of that blood around the body is what we call the blood circulation. So this blood circulation is very, very important in the sense that it helps us to transport food, it helps us to transport oxygen to the body cells where they're needed, and also it helps us to remove the waste products from those cells. So we are going to see all that kind of thing about the movement. Now, what does this system comprise? All right, look at them. Can you read those words for me? I can see. The first one is the heart. The second one, the blood vessels. And the third one, the blood itself. So today we are not going to look at all of them, but today we are going to look at only one of those organs. That's going to be the heart. Though you should note that there are other parts which are involved in this system here. So today we are going to look at the heart specifically. So let's look at this. Before look at the heart. Do you know anything? Do you remember anything about the heart? Let me check you. I can see. Where do you think the heart is found? I can see. No, you can remember. Okay, fine. Let's compare my answers with yours. Let's read through. We are saying here The heart is the strong muscular organ which pumps blood around the body. It's a strong muscular organ. It's a big organ because it's a collection of body tissues. That's why we call it an organ. Then this heart is found in the chest cavity, between the lungs, between the ribs. You can as well touch your chest there. Are you feeling something? I can see, you can feel something. Touch. Fine. So that heart is found in the chest cavity. Remember, in the chest cavity, we have got two organs. We have our heart, and also we have the lungs. So the heart is going to be between those two lungs. Then we're also saying that this heart is a delicate organ. Because it's very delicate, it needs to be protected. So what bone protects the heart? And this bone is going to be called the rib cage. Say the word once again. Fine. The rib cage. When you touch your body, you feel there are some bones there. Those are the ribs which are enclosing our hearts because it's very delicate. And the fourth, we are saying that this heart is made up of thick muscles. These muscles of the heart are what we call the cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscles. Let's say the word loudly. Cardiac muscle. We can as well spell the word. Fine. C-A-R-D-I-A-C. Cardiac. Cardiac muscles. So these muscles are going to be making up our heart. And this heart of ours is going to be enclosed in a membrane. This membrane is what we call the pericardium. Can you say the word? Pericardium. Let's go slow. Pericardium membrane. Now, this pericardium membrane is going to secrete a fluid. This fluid is what we call pericardial fluid. So, this fluid will help the heart to be lubricated. Just like any other body organ, even the lungs have got this fluid. They have got their own fluid. But we shall not look at the lungs today, we are looking at the heart. So this fluid is what we call the pericardial fluid. It's coming from the membrane we call the pericardium membrane. Let's look at it. Let's go. So furthermore, this heart is divided into two parts with the thick muscle. This thick muscle is going to be called the septum. Say the word again. Septum. Spell it. S-E-P-T-U-M. So the word is septum. Now, our heart is going to be divided into 4 chambers. It has got 4 chambers. The 4 chambers, we have the upper chambers. We shall be calling them the auricles or the atria. When it's one, we call the atrium. When there are many, we call them auricles. So we have got 2 up there. We have the left and the right auricle. Then the lower chambers are going to be called the ventricles. Can you say the word? Ventricles. So we have also 2. We have the left and the right. So these are a few facts about our heart. Remember, I told you the heart is a muscular organ which pumps blood to all body parts. And this heart is going to be protected by a bone called the rib cage. And the heart is enclosed in a membrane we call the, can you remember that membrane? Yeah, pericardium membrane. And we have said that the heart has got 4 chambers. The 4 chambers, the upper one are going to be called the auricles. I don't want to leave you. Auricles. And the bottom one are called the ventricles. So let's look at the actual heart. Oh, so that's the structure of our heart. I know some of you are scared now. Say, is it as big as all this? So look at that heart. Looks so beautiful. So this is what I'm telling you. So our heart, we are going to look at the parts that make up the heart. But I want you to be very attentive. Some of these words are very complicated, so you have to learn how to pronounce them correctly. So this is our heart, the structure of our heart here. I've already mentioned that the heart has got 4 chambers. The upper chambers, they are here. These are the upper chambers, there are 2. We have the one on the right, this is your right hand, and the one on the left. So the upper chambers, we call them the auricles. So we have what we call the right auricle. Can you say the word? Right auricle. So the other side, we have got the left auricle. Those are the 2 chambers which are upper. Then the bottom chambers or the lower chambers are called ventricles. You also have 2 of them. We have the right ventricle and the left ventricle. Do you notice anything when you look at these 2? I can see there's something I'm noticing when you look at my diagram of the heart. So those are the first thing you have to first of all learn. So we have got the chambers, the auricles, and the ventricles. Then we look at the whole structure. Before we look at these tubes you see here, those tubes of mine are called blood vessels. We shall look at their names. I've already mentioned that there's a strong muscle that separates the heart into two. This strong muscle is what we call the septum. It is over here. You can see stretching from here. It separates the two chambers. Then we have got different types of blood that go through our heart. When you look at my heart here, you realize that one side is colored blue, the other one is colored red. So you are going to find that the one which is colored blue is going to be dealing with blood which is deoxygenated. Can we say the word together? Deoxygenated blood. The one which is colored red on the left is going to be dealing with blood which is oxygenated. I've said we have two types of blood here. We have deoxygenated blood and oxygenated blood. Fine, you have got them. Fine, we shall look at the parts of the heart. Now, starting with this vessel here. This vessel here is what we call the vena cava. Vena cava. Can we say the word together? Vena cava. From the vena cava, we have another blood vessel here, which is also carrying blood which is deoxygenated. This one is called pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery. Then we have another one from there. This one's the biggest artery is called the aorta. We said the word together, aorta. And the spelling is also very important, A-O-R-T-A. And finally, we have a blood vessel here. You see the arrow? It's coming from somewhere. This one's called the pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein. Fine, let's go back and check those blood vessels. Fine. Read together. Vena cava. Pulmonary artery. Aorta. Pulmonary vein. So those are the four blood vessels we are going to be looking at in the heart. We shall look at what each of them does. You can see there are some few notes about it. But this heart has got other parts, not only about the blood vessels. You can realize that there are some other structures you can see here. There are these things which look like gates. Are you seeing them? Yeah, these are what we call the valves. So these valves, you are going to see what do you think they are found in our heart and so on. And they have got their names. The one on the right is called the tricuspid valve. The one on the left is called the bicuspid valve. I'll repeat. Tricuspid valve, bicuspid valve. We also have this one here. So these are going to be called the semilunar valves. So basically, this is the structure of our heart. It's not a very complex thing. It's not as big as you can see there. Actually, it's almost the size of your fist. But when you touch your body, you see, what do you think it's doing? I can feel it. Yeah, you feeling something? Yeah, it's pumping. So we're going to see. So what does each of these parts do? So I'm going to be leaving as an activity we are going to be doing for me to check whether I've understood. Remember, we started by looking at the meaning of the terms blood circulation, the circulatory system, and we have looked at the few facts about our heart and the parts that make up the heart. Fine, I'm going to give you some few numbers if you have actually remember, I've understood what I've taught you. Let's go through the questions. The first question says, which body system helps in the movement of blood? The second question, how is the heart important in the circulation of blood? And the third question, what name is given the muscles of the heart? And finally, which bone protects the eye? I consider those are very simple questions. You can pass them very well. So thank you for being good children. Take care of yourself. Remember to sanitize. I remain your teacher, Teacher Nabal Richard. So next time when I come, we are going to look at the function of each of these parts of the heart. You need to go through this heart and draw it as well. Thank you, very good children.